So hello everyone and welcome to the 9th Ask Me Anything session for Decentraland Community. I'm Frick Tillings from the Facilitation Squad and joined here with Pablo and Zeno from Grant Support Squad. And before we start, I pasted the Slido link in the comments so you guys can ask away and put your questions in there. And also I will paste here the link for our playlist for it. All of these are recorded and uploaded to the Decentraland DAO YouTube channel, so be on the lookout for that. They're usually up within a day or two. And regarding the technical AMA agenda, our next one is going to be February 15th, and it's going to be on SDK and kernel. And for further information, we also have a Decentraland Notion site here, and paste that here as well for you guys to check out. You can check out all the upcoming AMAs on there. And our purpose here is today is to facilitate communication and build connections between the Decentraland Foundation and grant recipients. So if you guys ever encounter any issues or need additional help, don't hesitate and reach out always to the Grant Support Squad Verified Partners Registry and also Facilitation Squad. We're here to help. And today's AMA is with the Catalyst and Decentralized Services and with Matthias, and who is the Catalyst and Decentralized Services Engineering Manager from Foundation. So thank you for being here, and I will pass it on to you.
Okay, thank you for the intro. So as usual, let me share the screen with the presentation. Just a second. So again, welcome to the AMA session. Today we are covering like the platform side of the house for the Catalyst, and Miguel is going to cover the decentralized service scope. Again, here are the links to the Slido in case you want to use it from your phone, and the ID, I think it was already sent on the chat. I always do like a quick recap in case there are newcomers. So platform, why do we exist? We enable massive decentralized communications and content management in real time for the Decentraland protocol. And our products, as usual, our main product are the Catalyst network. We manage 5 of the 11 nodes. They are used to store content, do blockchain validations, and connect users. Then we also own the Decentraland status page, where we are like displaying the history of the incidents and the status of the main systems, and if there is an ongoing issue. And also Worlds, which is like a reduced version of a Catalyst that is going to like evolving. Based on our last meeting, these were like our Q1 2023 goals. We are working on the content server on-chain validations. I think we did a lot of progress. This is very close, at least. The idea is to validate content that is uploaded to the Catalyst using a smart contract going on-chain instead of relying on just the graph. On the other hand, in order to be more resilient with the graph, all our nodes are already using like a load balancer between Satsuma and the graph. This is helping with the platform stability. That's already done. In terms of like what we are calling Worlds version 1, first, we expanded the limit of the amount of parcels that users could use for a single name. Now, I think it's unlimited, but you still have a limit of 100 megabytes. And we already created some APIs to do an integration with places. The APIs expose the list of worlds, so the names that have scenes deployed to them, and how many users are connected to each world. This is going to help a lot with the discoverability of world scenes and I don't know, like, and probably to get more users visiting cool scenes that are hidden inside worlds. And users are also going to be able to vote and like the different scenes. So I think that the main part of our work for version 1 is done. And we need someone like from the places side that we are like trying to make this a priority to work on this and deliver this value to the platform. And on the other hand, around worlds, we are working on a permission system for names. The idea is that if you own a name, you could grant permissions to different wallets to deploy a scene under the same name. this is going to work for, I'm seeing someone celebrating. This is going to be very useful when you work in a team, because it's kind of painful now. Like if two persons need to do a deployment on the name, you need to or wait on the other person or transfer the name. So this is very close to be complete, and probably we are going to be able to deliver this value soon. Then we did the fast bootstrapping. This was delivered. Like now, this is more for maintenance. If we need to reboot a catalyst for a maintenance purpose, it used to take like half an hour. Now it takes like 7 minutes or 6. So this helps a lot with the maintainability of nodes. Sorry, I have a dog barking in the background. So in terms of metrics, I think the first one is related to one of the questions, and we will have to review this one. A single node can manage between 1,500 peers. But the thing is, all the Catalyst nodes now are already running on LiveKit comms. This had a huge improvement in the performance on the comms service. This means that if we chat using voice chat on the platform or some internal data channels communication, like when you send profile updates and things like that, the performance improved a lot. It used to take like 30 seconds or 20 seconds if you were like in a full island. A full island is like 100 peers. Close to you, and now it's around 1 second or 2, thanks to this new model. And on the weekend, the last node was migrated, so you should all be experiencing this in all the servers. Then incidents, last 2 months, we didn't have anything. In December, we had 2 small ones, but so we are good on that area. Okay, that's it mainly for the update since the last AMA. Miguel, all yours.
All right. So hi everybody. I'm Miguel, engineering manager for the decentralized services team. So just as a recap, there we go. All right, just a recap. What we do or why we exist in the foundation is mainly our focus is mainly on social interactions and engagement, and that's for these personas, which are the communities and the content creators. Our team is mainly organized into 2 work streams, which is the social and identity work stream and the engagement and discovery one. Next slide, please. So our 2 products that we offer now are the 2 systems that we manage are the friends and messaging subsystem. These are the backend services client and kernel flows, and these handle the social interactions in the world, mostly for direct messages and channels, presence and whereabouts feature. There's an update about this, which is prior to this week, we had the matrix service taking care of all of these interactions, and this week we released the social service milestone 1. Where we migrated all of our friendships, friend requests, and well, more features will be coming here. And then related to events, places, applications, here's where we advertise events in the world. Also, we advertise scenes, enable users to rate and recommend whichever they'd like, right? And in general, the idea is to help the community to discover new activities to do in Central. Next slide, please. So some updates related to our roadmap. As I mentioned before, we did the release for the social service M1. Here we are extending the friendship querying capabilities. Now we can know what are the friends for someone and mutual friends as well. And we have faster friendship requests, and with this we are enabling further features to come as well. Then related to the quest, we're still doing the product definition and design, while we also work in the POC for the new quest system. We are mainly tackling the old pain points from the prior version from 2 years ago, which are creation tools for content creators, scalable solution that will be able to take all the loading in every massive event in Decentraland, and the idea is to have a bigger and more general data model for requests in order to have more ideas and more extensibility in what we want to do with the tasks. Then related to the places upgrades that's already in progress, the idea here is to update the content automatically, as today is a manual process, and also to be able to do the quicker refinement of the data. And then related to events, these upgrades are still in design. We plan to have new filters and new sections in the application, as well as having a new event page and a submission form as well. Finally, in terms of the improvements for social interactions, on one hand side, we plan for a milestone 2 as a social service where we want to have real-time notification of the new friend requests. While on the other hand, we're investigating on what could end up being a social feed or a social network inside the Decentraland. We already had a session with some people from the community and have good feedback about this. And the idea here would be to maintain all of the communities sharing of information inside of the world instead of going out into other social feeds or networks such as Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So next slide, please. Not many updates in here in terms of key metrics and highlights, but as I mentioned before, we did the release for the new service for friendships. So this is social service M1, and we plan to have new upcoming features such as a mutual friends query, and have that also published as part of the new profile views in the world. So that's it from my side. Remember, you can submit your questions in the Slido.
Okay, thank you, Miguel. Let's jump to the questions. Okay, I will put some zoom just in case. So I will start to go in order. So the first question is there anything on the Catalyst side that is causing scenes to not load since beginning of new year? We had a number of issues on buried parcels in Ethereum. Honestly, I saw this one, but we don't have anything reported and any issue related to the loading of scenes. It could be useful to have more details about this, like in what scene is not loading, in which parcel, which client, like if it is with the web or the desktop, and we could do some troubleshooting and find out if there is an issue. We have 2 channels actually for this. There is one for help and there is one for the Catalyst, but there shouldn't be anything particular. Which screen share? My screen share?
Yeah, for some reason it's not showing. It's showing up all distorted.
Okay, let me reshare.
Thank you. Yeah, it's still distorted. That's strange.
The same?
Yeah.
Can anyone share the questions?
I can see it perfectly.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, wait, now it's good. It's good again.
I'm sorry. Okay, cool.
Oh.
So if there are more details, or if anyone can provide more details about it, we can take a look. So next question, what's the number of players supported by a node or a realm? There are set number for each client as if the Decentraland can support 1 million players. What's needed? Okay, this is funny because we actually had this goal of supporting 1 million daily active users, and then we shift the kind of the priorities. We had a benchmark when we had peer-to-peer communications, and it's kind of like 1,000 or 1,500 users per node, and we have 11 nodes, so it can be like 15 or 1,600 users in total concurrently at the same time on the platform. This is an estimate. We never had so many users, and it's based on some performance test. But since we all migrated to LiveKit, and LiveKit can scale more in terms of managing the communications, probably we should do some new stress test and see how this, how much memory or CPU consumes resolving the content and how much is for comms, because comms probably can scale even more now. But that's the baseline. And what do we need to support 1 million players? Probably we need to keep doing some stress tests and finding the gaps. I hope we really have this problem. I don't know, like if anyone has any other comment about it or from the team. Otherwise, I can keep moving on. So the next one is, what is the cost of running a node on AWS? Would you know monthly, for example? Would you recommend other providers? What providers use at the moment? Thank you. Okay, so in terms of cost, we use AWS for all our nodes, and it's a T2X large machine. I was checking the price, and it costs like $133 a month to run a node. There are some Catalyst owners that they run their server on the home machine. I know there are probably one or two. And in terms of provider, I think Amazon is easy and it's not that expensive, but you could also use DigitalOcean or another one that you may choose. Like, I think it's better to have different providers because it has more decentralization. So if Amazon goes down, the network doesn't die. We actually had a ticket to migrate one of our nodes to DigitalOcean, but we didn't have the chance to do it. But that would be like our average price. Next one, may I know when Decentraland will launch mobile client for download? This one, I don't know. I think this is for product. I don't even know, like, if I think that there are no, well, I don't know if there are people working on a mobile client. I think it's something that it should be done at some point, but does anyone have any comment on this one? Otherwise, I can move on and we can try to find an answer for it later. Can devs set the default graphics settings to graphics quality low, base resolution match display, ambient occlusion off to help reduce lag for new users? I think this one, it should be more for the SDK on the next AMA, because it looks like you want to set some default settings for a particular scene. Yeah, I think it's not currently possible as far as I know, but it would be like a good idea to be able to manage those things from the scene. I saw some requirements to do it a couple of times, but you can chat about it on the next one, and I can like copy the question for the next AMA. Is there a possibility yet for words to be larger than 100 megabytes? There are other services being provided for limits up to 500 for very reasonable price. So this is an amazing question. I think that Words is growing and the community are starting to build different services. I saw this one that they are offering bigger space in terms of megabytes for like a very low price. It's a good option. You may choose to use it. It's a service built from Atlas Corp, but the foundation server still only has 100 megabytes. There are also like a new service built that will support ENS names. It doesn't matter if it is like a Decentraland name or a .eth name. So those are implementations of the Word server that are being created by the community, and it will choose like content creators to select where host the world based on the best offerings in the market. And that's the answer that I have for now.
Mati,
yes.
I would like to add that having a scene like 300 megabytes means that whenever a client enters the scene, he has to download 300 megabytes. So that's one of the reasons we try to limit it to something more or less reasonable. 500 megs, if when you want to enter a scene, you have to wait for a download of 500 megabytes, it may not be the best experience. Maybe you're talking about breaking up that scene into 2 or 3 different scenes or worlds or whatever they are. But like 500 seems like too much in general from user experience.
And the actual limit of the Genesis City is 300. So if you build a 500 megabyte scene and you want to migrate it to the Genesis City, you wouldn't be able to do it unless you decrease the size somehow. So moving on, what are you most proud of that you guys have worked since the last AMA, and what you are looking forward to in the next few weeks? Oh, this is a good question. Actually, I'm super happy and proud that all the catalysts now are running on LiveKit because that's a game changing for performance and user experience. And it seemed like something so small, but it took like lots of work to get to that point. So we actually did new implementations of peer-to-peer. We did comms v3. We pushed a rollout. We failed. We had to roll back everything because we like practically broke the platform. Then we did like a new, much more stable release. It took like a lot of work and investigation to get there, and it was like a huge amount of effort. And all the value is now live in every node. And looking forward on the next few weeks, I think that the next cool thing is going to be Worlds. I want to. We want to be able to release more content for Worlds and make them more useful, because the platform needs to have like a content boom so that we bring more users and we make it more accessible for content creators. And Worlds is starting to be a game changer in that sense, and building tools to ease the experience of like content creators or new users is going to help a lot. At least that's my 2 cents from my point of view. I don't know if anyone else from the team wants to add something.
Perhaps the fact that we also have Worlds working on LiveKit.
Yeah,
that's already there. And the next thing would be the permission so that the team can share a world name and deploy all together under the same name. So that's coming soon and should be ready sometime late this week, or maybe safer to say next week.
Next week, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's pretty close, yes. So I'm making a tool in Unity to visualize Decentraland wearables and within my application. Is it possible to do this with Catalyst? Can you elaborate a bit more? I don't know who wrote this question.
If you're here, jump in.
Yes, please. Because, for example, Catalyst, all the Catalyst now, they store all the wearables that are shown like in the marketplace or when you play. And the marketplace uses the entity and the content to do like the wearable preview. You can actually wear the wearables before you buy them. So it is possible to do it with the content that is stored on the Catalyst. But I'm not sure if that answers the question. But I would say yes.
Yeah, if anybody else has any questions, again, feel free to add them to Slido, or I think that was the last one there, I believe. And if not, we can open it up as an open forum for a little bit if anybody wants to ask anything. So if you have questions, you can just unmute yourself. I see you, Scott. He's like...
Turn to the mic.
I think you have to raise your hand if you want to talk. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if everyone's able to unmute themselves. Possibly.
Okay, does it work now?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, this was actually to what Specimen had mentioned in the chat. I'm not sure if this is the right team to speak to. He was referring to like the default settings when the new users first log in. Usually those default settings are extremely high and not everyone's PCs can like handle those off rip. So like meaning to like scene load radius being at 4 automatically and high graphics settings being set as well as ambient occlusion being turned on. I feel like these settings kind of make it a little hard for the new user to come in and like enjoy the experience. A lot of them, whenever I'm sitting at Genesis Plaza, just like trying to help new users, one of the first things I do is just say, hey, go press B on your keyboard, go to your settings and start adjusting this stuff. And when they come back, they usually say, wow, much better. Let's start enjoying, you know? So is there a way to maybe lower the new wallet settings when logging in? Is this the right team?
Probably we are not the right team for this. I think it's more for the Explorer team. And as far as I know, they were working on something like trying to detect the hardware settings and adjust the client preferences, technical preferences based on the hardware settings. So if you have like a lot of hardware, okay, you can go for the high resolution and everything. If you have lower hardware, let's adjust it for the performance. But that's all I know so far.
And also, yeah, the ambient occlusion tip, if anyone's listening, that one's a big one. If you ever meet any new users, tell them to turn off the ambient occlusion, and usually, for the most part, their lag goes away.
That's good to know. Thanks for sharing. And I will reach the Explorer team just in case, but forward the question.
Yeah, if anybody else has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself.
An ETA on the builder. No, we don't have like an ETA for the builder support. For the time being, like the deployment of words is with the CLI. And the team is working on the new Decentraland editor, and I know it's going to be supported out of the box in the new editor. But I don't have an ETA for the builder.
Hey, 13 here. This may be a little odd of a question, but I'm just kind of curious what the idea behind allowing people to build on ENS servers like DCL Worlds, where that kind of comes into play.
In what sense, like it comes into play?
What the idea behind the benefit of allowing users kind of outside of Decentraland, but with these ENS domains to be able to build within instead of coming into the platform, building on a parcel or having to buy in a name to throw out a build. I'm just kind of curious what the gears were really turning, or what the idea and the thought process behind this was.
Okay. So this came as a scene preview visualizer idea, where like people working on a team together could like use this small content server to upload the scene and share it and work in a team before uploading the content to the Genesis City. And this also was like triggered by the fact that what was the name of the company that started to shut down all the free tires. So there was a tool that we were using to preview the scenes that had like a free tire, and they killed the free tire. I can't recall the name now. So the idea was, okay, let's offer some Heroku, thank you. So the idea was, okay, let's offer an alternative to Heroku and let's build something else so that people can start to use this new service to like preview the content and share it, and also do it faster because the Heroku experience was kind of painful. And this is how it started, and it started to evolve. And one way to control the scaling of the server was, okay, let's use people that have the name. Let's give them like the preview service for free, and let's start to test this idea. And this becomes something else and something else, and this is still growing and evolving. So, but that was like how it started and how it is going. And now it is becoming something bigger where people are starting to host the scenes, link them, use their private names. You can still use it as a preview service as long as you keep the same storage requirements that the Genesis City has. So if you go above 300 megabytes, you won't be able to migrate the scenes so easily. And I think that's it. And this is also helping a lot with the entry barrier for new content creators, because like buying land for companies sometimes was like super expensive. If they wanted to do a POC and test if a project or an idea on this virtual world would be useful for them, you had to ask, okay, well, you need like 4 parcels. Okay, you need to spend $40,000 only in land to test if you want to move forward. So the idea was, okay, do a POC on a private space, and then you can move to the Genesis City. And the Genesis City will still keep having all the same, discoverability and everything else. People can run by your scene. Hope I answered your question. If you have any comment.
I think in line with that question, like allowing anyone to deploy under any ENS, there's no restriction. Like we don't care. Like as long as we have more content and more experiences for users to access, and to lower even more the barrier for content creators to deploy their stuff, like it's all welcome.
And one thing that was already happening was that on the Catalyst channel, there were like a lot of users asking, okay, how can I start my Catalyst? And when we started to ask, what's your use case? I want to upload my scene. So there were like a lot of users trying to upload like a super heavy node only to push one scene and share it with some company or users. So that was another input for this idea.
Honestly, I do think that this is a brilliant move for mass adoption. I was just trying to get a feel for how y'all kind of viewed this move, and I do appreciate the input. We talk behind, well, it's not really behind closed doors because anybody's welcome to come into the CB Discord and talk with us. But we discuss best cases, what the future's going to look like for the platform, and ways to bring in mass adoption. I think this is actually a pretty smart play. So thank y'all.
Awesome. Thank you for the feedback.
Let me add one more thing. Just adding one more thing to that. Like the model we try to replicate here, and that's why we use TCL names, is that model of a DNS where like for the catalysts, all catalysts have all the content. And the decentralization relies on the fact that anyone can answer whatever question or whatever parcel a person needs. For worlds, there's no synchronization, and you can have as many servers as required. We have one, and other service providers can have others, or you can even start your own node. And if one is down, the platform is still up because it doesn't rely on any in particular. The worst thing that can happen is you cannot access a certain name, but the rest of the platform is online. So just like DNS and just like the web. So that was the main driver to use DCL names. But this has grown beyond DCL names, and that's fantastic. It's even bigger than, it's even better. Yeah.
And about moderation, how are you thinking about moderation in this?
Moderation is such a complex thing. I think this is going to be moderated by users when you can have like a reporting something for a scene. Okay? You want to report, or a server even. So we are going to need some kind of like, I don't know, this scene is or fishy, or this scene is offensive, or something like that people can use to report the content of the words. Kind of the same that with the lands, with the scenes on the Genesis city. Today we don't have an easy way to report if something is offensive. I think that usually people make some complaints on the Discord channels and it's reported to there, or they send a new DAO poll. That I recall, we only had to put down an scene once. The other type of content usually has more moderation because there is a curation team and everything, but not for scenes. But something we will need to be in place.
There's a question in the Q&A section. I will paste it here in the chat. I think it's mainly for you, Mati.
Okay, thank you. Will be able to redirect a name to a personal server on the Explorer? Yes, actually, that's an amazing question, and I love that you did it. The idea that we are working on is to use, we are still like working on the idea, but ENS, the names lets you set different fields on your name. Like you can put links to your personal social networks or whatever, but you can also add some text records. So if we can add a text record that points to the server where your scene is stored, you could do like a change realm, your name, and then we can look in the name if it has this server URL set, use ENS as a DNS, so it will resolve the server URL, and we can do the change realm automatically, regardless of where the scene is stored. So if it is stored in your personal world server, you will only need to configure this field in your name. And if you can do this from the builder, it's going to be like super transparent and easy way to do it. And you can have control of the server, of your name, where it's hosted, and of the content. And with that, you can also bypass any restriction that we put on words. Like we say, okay, it's 100 megabytes, and okay, I want to do like 1 gigabyte. Even if that's not very useful in terms of usability, because you will need to download all the content, but you can do it. Probably we are going to move forward with this idea, and we are going to share an ADR with this, with the details. But it's also very cool because it's super decentralized. Next one.
Someone's asking about the ETA.
ETA for this. Difficult question. It's like we have a product manager here. I don't know, because we need some input from the dApps team to do the builder part. The Explorer and the URL resolution can be done on our side, but it's going to be like a cross-team effort. It should be.
It's more an Explorer.
Yes. I can only say it's going to be like short term, 2 months, let's say. I don't think it's going to take more than that. But it's like a very rough, lazy estimate.
Yeah, I think there's one more question in the Slido. Or maybe it's not updating.
Let me check. Oh, there are a couple more. Okay, let me share the screen for a second. Almost there. So we are all, I guess, thank you, beautiful creature. Thank you. When Decentraland Wars Builder, okay, we talked about this one. How do you feel about the film club submissions? I know about this, but I haven't been part of. If anyone wants to comment. Okay, I will move on. Difference between owning a name.eth versus name.dsl.eth. Okay, Bo, I think the DCL names are an implementation of the ENS, so they are .dcl, but because they are the Decentraland names, and they are the one that we are supporting for Worlds. And the other one are just the Ethereum names. And the DCL names, you can use it in different ways. We are trying to add more value somehow to these names, like with words, or like you can link a name to a scene from the builder. And those type of things that probably you cannot do with just an ENS name. There are new services that they are creating that they are supporting these type of names to host worlds. So if you have the .eth name, you will be able to create worlds on their hosting service. But this is built by the community. I don't have more details about it. What are the incentives to have a Catalyst server? Any idea on how to have more people replicating our content? So, like anyone wants to run a Catalyst node, they can send a DAO proposal. In terms of incentives, you can request a grant to cover the expenses of your node. But it's not like in another decentralized networks where if you run a node, you get some rewards like money for minting something or something like that. I think it would be very cool if people send more requests to run their Catalyst node, and we could start to. There is no need to have more nodes on the network, but perhaps we could start to replace one of the foundation nodes for another community-owned node, because that is going to help with the decentralization and also with the maintenance. So DAO can cover the expenses for a Catalyst node run by someone in the community, and we can start to shut down some of our nodes. So if anyone wants to do that, it would be amazing, and they only need to send a DAO proposal for that. There is a specific form to request this, but we don't get many requests for doing this. Actually, or like any.
You can ask a few people. I've actually been talking about considering running a node. It hasn't been brought up recently, but now that it's been brought up again.
Yeah, like people think about it, but they don't send the request to the DAO to run the node. I think if a request is sent, it's going to be considered if it is serious and they want to run and maintain the node, because it has some work. Usually you need to like update the node when we send an update. It's not so hard, but you only need to, because updating a node is usually doing a git pull and running a init file. It's not so complicated, but from time to time we need to send some updates, security updates or new features. A few time ago, the extended passport was updated and new APIs were released for that. So all the Catalyst owners have to take the node. Now all the Catalyst nodes did the migration to the new comms service. So they had to configure the LiveKit cluster and do all the settings for that. So it requires some time, but it's not so hard.
All right, yeah, I'll go back in and look at the proposal for it again and see what I got to do.
Okay. Well, I think that's it, unless someone has anything else.
So if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. I think Tobik just added one question.
Is it possible to publish smart wearables or not yet? When is it going to be changed? I think smart wearables are not supported yet. So no, and I don't know if it is part of the roadmap. I think they are not. And if we have the same understanding of smart wearables, are the wearables that you can share or something like that, right? Toby, I don't know if you want to comment. You are here.
Hi, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so smart wearables are wearables that you can add some type of code. There have been some examples of this. For example, the Santa jetpack that some players are able to use it and fly all over the world. So as far as I know, this was a really hard thing because you needed people at the committee knowing about coding to approve those wearables. I don't know what's the current state of that because I think it could be huge, and it's kind of sad that it stopped and nobody. I mean, and then nobody's creating. I mean, yeah, there are some people creating them. There's a project called Crossverse from Dapcraft. They're doing some cool stuff with that. But as far as I know, like there are only like a few, and there is not a team to review this type of things.
Yeah, true. I remember like it is complex to do the curation because of the code, but probably it can be resolved with UX. I think this question is going to be very good for the next AMA with the SDK because they develop the tools to create these smart wearables.
Thank you, great to know. I will remember.
I will copy and paste for the next one, the ones that are for the SDK. So
nice. Thank you. Wait, another question that isn't related to necessarily to this team, but I don't have like I don't know how to communicate. If you press the U button, you will see for like milliseconds text that says Oli. I don't know if it has been fixed. I guess it was a placeholder that someone put, but it's funny, right? It says Olis.
I didn't see that one, but we can test it and send it to the Explorer team.
Yeah, if there are any other questions, please feel free to unmute yourself. If not, we can start wrapping it up. What do you think, Pablo? Sounds good? Okay, cool. So yeah, thank you, Matias and Miguel, for your overview and for helping answer all these questions from the community. Always excited to see what you guys are working on. And thanks everyone else from the foundation and from Decentraland community for being here. And be sure to join us next week and for the 15th. And as they were saying, it's going to be the SDK and kernel team. So mark your calendars and start submitting your questions for that. And yeah, thanks again, everyone, for being here, and see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. See you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good one.